So, hello there, and welcome back to another Night of the Movies podcast. I'm Spy Knight, and in these podcasts, I love talking all things movies and TV, and whatever I want, wherever I want. And in today's podcast, I'm reviewing The Ballad of Wallis Island. So, let's get into it, shall we? The Ballad of Wallis Island is a new film written by Tim Key and Tom Basden, and the film also stars them two in leading roles alongside Kay Mulligan in quite a big supporting role. And I was interested in seeing this film at the cinema because I'm a big fan of those three actors that I've just mentioned. I've seen quite a few things where Tim Key's been in and I found him funny. I liked Tom Basden, and when I've seen him in, I thought he was good in Afterlife, and funnily enough, Tim Key and Tom Basden were both in Afterlife, the Ricky Gervais dramedy. I'm not sure if they shared a scene together in that show, but they were both in it nevertheless. And Kay Mulligan, I've seen on a lot of things, and she's a very talented actor, you know. If you haven't seen her in something, I think you should, because I think you'll be very, I think you'll be very taken by her performance. She's a very good actor, and whenever she's in something, I immediately get interested. Plus, I was interested in this film because every now and then, I mean not all the time, I'll be honest, but every now and then, I like to see a film like this, you know, a small sort of British indie movie that that has a small budget, that doesn't have that many characters in, and yet at the same time hits you emotionally and is poignant, and at the same time might be a little bit funny. I like to see films like that every now and then, and I was hoping this was going to be one of those movies. So with those hopes, I went to go and watch the film at the cinema the other day, and the Google plot synopsis of the film goes as follows. Old tensions resurface when former bandmates, played by Kay Mulligan and Tom Basden, who were former lovers, reunite for a private show at the island home of an eccentric millionaire, and that eccentric millionaire is played by Tim Key in this film. And that's pretty much all you need to know about this movie before seeing it. And honestly, I absolutely loved this film. I loved it. I was taken by the characters, the scenery. I loved the way this film looked. I'm not sure if it was shot in Scotland, or maybe it's just my yearning for Scotland right now, because it's not too long now until I go on holiday to Scotland again. I always look forward to going on holiday in Scotland, but this film looked like it was shot in Scotland. And whenever a film, you know, has that sort of Scottish seaside scenery, or Scottish coast scenery, should I say, it automatically makes me enjoy just looking at the movie, looking at the scenery in the film. But it wasn't just the scenery that made me like this movie, that made me love this movie even. Like I said already, it was the characters, it was the story and the storytelling and the music. I just felt so engaged in the movie throughout its runtime, and it flew by. This movie is an hour and 40 minutes, and it honestly felt like it was on for an hour for me. The first half of the film, should I say, the first half of the film was very funny. I mean, in the first half an hour, you got quite a few scenes between Tim Key and Tom Basden, which are comedic brilliance in my opinion. I could not stop laughing in the first half an hour of the film. Then Kay Mulligan's character comes into it, maybe just over the half an hour mark, but she comes into it a little bit later on in the movie, and it's still funny, but then it starts to get a bit more dramatic and a bit more emotional. And then by the end of the film, I was almost getting a bit teary-eyed, and I was sat there, and I was like, oh yeah, this film is really working for me. That's what my thought was. That was a thought that kept coming to my mind when I was watching the latter stages of this film, the final act of the movie. I kept thinking, oh god, this film is really working for me. And I left the cinema thinking about the movie. I left the cinema feeling very differently than how I went into the cinema. And I mean that in the best way possible. I love films that really surprise you, and you come out the cinema feeling like your day has just become 10 times better. And that's what I felt like coming out the cinema the other day after watching this film. And I found the ending uplifting as well. I thought the ending was going to be quite heartbreaking, but actually the ending, it ends on a happy note. Not to go into any spoilers in case people haven't seen the movie yet, and you know, the chances are people haven't seen it. It's probably one of those films that will do well on streaming when it comes out on streaming. But the end of the film, it had this uplifting note to it that gave me the biggest grin ever. I was worried that the film wouldn't pull off its ending. I was worried that the ending would become a bit soppy and mushy, but it wasn't. The ending of this film was perfect, as was this film. as a whole. There was nothing about this movie where I thought, that could be improved. All the performances were authentic and believable. There's not one actor in this movie that I felt like I was watching an actor play a character. And all the actors in this movie, as I said at the start of this review today, I've seen them in other stuff. I've seen Tim Key in other stuff. I've seen Tom Baslin in other stuff. And I've seen Kay Mulligan in loads of other stuff. He's a huge actor. But when I was watching those three actors in this movie, I never felt like I was watching actors play characters. And that sounds like a small thing, but so many times you get these casts full of famous actors, and this isn't, a huge cast of actors, sure, but even smaller movies like, say, The Penguin Lessons, which came out not too long ago. I really like The Penguin Lessons, but when I was watching the film, I will admit, and I'm not sure if I said this in my review, or maybe I lied in my review a little bit about this, I felt like I was watching Steve Coogan play this character. I didn't feel like I was watching Steve Coogan fully sink himself into that character, into the role, into the lead role in The Penguin Lessons, whilst in this film, I didn't feel like that at all with any of the actors. Yes, I thought all the performances were authentic. I loved the storytelling. I loved how it grabbed you emotionally from the get-go. You are laughing out loud, and then as the film progresses, it starts to hit you emotionally on a deeper level, which I really didn't expect. And I loved the themes that are explored in the movie as well. I loved how this film was about loneliness, how it's about friendship, and how it's about moving on, but not forgetting where you came from, not forgetting what made you who you are today. And how that was explored in the movie. How those themes were explored in this film were beautifully bittersweet. I came out of the movie just with this feeling that I haven't had coming out of a film this year so far. And I've seen some really good movies this year, I have. But this might be my favourite film of the year so far, which I know might surprise some people. But I went into the movie not expecting much, to enjoy myself, but also, it'll be one of those films which I kind of forget about in a week's time. It'll be one of those Sunday afternoon type movies. That's what I thought it was going to be, like a Sunday afternoon type film. But actually, I think it's much better than just a Sunday afternoon type movie that you might watch with your grandparents. I think this is a film which, if you love music, then it will work for you on another level. And I love music. I play a musical instrument. I still play a musical instrument. And when I was watching this film and hearing the songs of the movie, the songs weren't really to my taste, personally, but I was listening to the music, and there's, particularly in the second half of the movie, I was like, oh, I understand why these songs mean so much to Tim Key's character. I'm not going to spoil why that's the case, but the music is actually really good. I mean, again, it's not really to my taste, but the music, I can understand why Tim Key's character in this film, why the music means so much to his character. And the music does sound believable, it sounds good enough. Again, it's not really to my taste, but it sounds good at the same time, and that makes the film work. Because if the music didn't work, then you wouldn't really believe in the dynamics in the movie. You wouldn't believe in the situation of the film. But I did believe in the music, so that made the circumstances all more believable. That made that film all more believable at the same time. It won't be for everybody. It is a small film, and it doesn't move at a fast pace, so for that reason it's not going to be for everybody. But this is one of those films that felt like it was made specifically for me. You know what I mean? I mean, it wasn't obviously made specifically for me, but it's one of those films where I came out, I was like, that is a perfect film, in my opinion. That's a perfect film to me. And I loved it. I could not get over how much it worked for me. I was on the tram ride home after watching this film, and I was just thinking, yeah, wow, I love films that, catch you off guard emotionally and do so in a way that you really didn't see coming. And I did not see... I was very surprised to be caught off guard emotionally with this movie. I was very surprised to come out of the film the way I did. But nevertheless, I came out of the film feeling all the more better than going into the movie. Going into this film the other day, I didn't feel too well. Coming out of the film, I felt like my day, as what he said, got 10 times better. And that's what you really want from any movie you watch at the cinema. Yeah, I loved it. And so, all in all, you know what? Yeah, I'm feeling generous today. I don't know why, but I'm feeling generous today. I'm going to give this film a 10 out of 10. Yes. I think that's my first 10 out of 10 of the year, if not mistaken. Well, my first 10 out of 10 movie of the year anyway. I think I gave my review of Severance earlier this year, I think I gave that a 10 out of 10, but that's a TV show, so it's a different medium. And so this is, I think, my first 10 out of 10 movie of 2025, which is great to say because, again, I wasn't expecting much, but I came out of the movie and I was like, well, that was brilliant. I loved it. It was poignant as well. What's something I'm not sure if I mentioned already. It was poignant. The themes in this film resonated with me in a way that the themes in any best movie should, in any great movie should. You know, when you watch a movie and the themes really hit you emotionally, and they hit you emotionally because they resonate with you, that's what happened when I watched this film. And like I said before, it's a beautifully bittersweet coming-of-age film following these characters that you just get swept up in. You get swept up in their stories, this narrative that you get swept up in as well, the storytelling that you get swept up in, the scenery you get swept up in, the direction. The film is directed by James Griffiths, and he does a really great job at just letting the camera linger on certain actors' faces and scenes, which proves to be very effective. The writing in the film, which I think is on point for this movie, and just the whole film in itself. It's one of those films that I just think you can't help but get swept up in. And it's perfect for what it is. I have no note for this film. And, yeah. I absolutely loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. And so, all in all, as I've already said, and as I'm going to say once more in this podcast today, The Ballad of Wallis Island is a 10 out of 10 for me. Anyway guys, that's it for today's podcast. If you have seen The Ballad of Wallis Island, please let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching or listening to this podcast. And if you haven't yet, please do click down below and like and subscribe on this video. And look forward to many more videos and many more podcasts coming very, very soon on this channel. As what I said, thank you for watching or listening to this podcast. And I will see you guys again soon. But bye for now. Bye.